Holy crap, can you believe it? Nintendo has finally done it. They finally took the most corporate, greedy, rancid action you could take against your own fans, just completely wiping their asses with our money and wallets. It feels like the Empire is striking back and taking everything we hold near and dear, and I'm frankly pissed off at this new lawsuit that's coming out because it truly shows just how low Nintendo is willing to stoop to make money. At this point, they're beating out Disney with how hard they milk their fans. Feels like we have to fight tooth and nail nowadays to get developers to deliver the games that fans actually want. And of course, why would Nintendo of all gaming companies ever give the fans what they want? A company that has continued to put out the exact same games over the last 30 years and have refused to innovate or improve. And so, if you haven't heard already, news has just come out that Nintendo is suing Pocket Bear, the developers of Palworld. Nothing like some new age corporate greed to set executives off. Imagine a massive billion-dollar corporation that has the gall to go after indie game developers. Now, this is actually something that has been speculated since Palworld's release all the way back in January, but nobody actually believed Nintendo would be able to take action against them. Well, it turns out Nintendo is proving everybody wrong and has officially filed a patent infringement lawsuit against Pocket Bear. And it's sad to see the state of Nintendo. You know you failed to capture your fans' attention when you were actively trying to sue the competition, and I think that Palworld must have really spooked some of the suits over at Nintendo as they had been reportedly investigating the game all the way back since its release. Palworld is an open-world survival game akin to Ark, where instead of a prehistoric world of dinosaurs, you have a world full of cute creatures called pals. In Palworld, you can craft weapons and tools to assist you in building a sprawling base or fort for you and the pal friends you collect. And the kinds of pals you can find throughout the game range from friendly to dangerous, usually possessing a variety of elemental powers. You can capture these pals in a tool called a pal sphere and keep them to fight or work as laborers for your fort. Most often, these pals won't be used for pal v pal combat, as you can get your hands on modern machine guns, bats, and other weapons for fighting. Instead, pals are mostly put to work for tasks like mining rocks, chopping wood, and foraging for important resources. Yes, the true purpose of Palworld is to collect these pals so you can turn them into your own slaves for your modern internment camp. You can even mount some of these pals and ride them vast distances across the sprawling open world. It's basically every Pokemon fan's wet dream. Now, back when the game was released all the way in January, Nintendo released this statement without mentioning any specific names, but the message is clearly aimed at Palworld. We have received many inquiries regarding another company's game released in January 2024. We have not granted any permission for the use of Pokemon intellectual property or assets in that game. We intend to investigate and take appropriate measures to address any acts that infringe on intellectual property rights related to Pokemon. We will continue to cherish and nurture each and every Pokemon in its world, and work to bring the world together through Pokemon in the future. Now, of course, they didn't want to specifically state Palworld, probably in fear of more of their fans flocking over to the game. Nintendo didn't want to give this game any more notoriety, and they would even begin to taking action against any modders who attempt to put actual Pokemon in the game. Big modding websites would even catch wind of this and begin blacklisting the game. Nexus Mods specifically refused to host any mods of Palworld out of fear of retaliation from the big scary company. I mean, seriously, I would have never imagined a time where modders were afraid to steal intellectual property. Pocket Bear, however, wasn't so afraid of Nintendo's threats, and continued to push forward into early access. 6 days after the game's access launch, they had already amassed over 8 million copies sold, with Nintendo's lawyers nowhere to be found. And this seemed to be an omen of prosperity for the game, but of course, this would only last a couple months. Now, Nintendo has turned their big greedy heads and have set their sights on filing an official patent infringement lawsuit against Pocket Bear. Like a James Bond villain, Nintendo has been twiddling their thumbs, counting their fat stacks of money, and waiting for the precise opportunity to sue Pocket Bear, dropping a hard lawsuit that states that the Pokemon Company is seeking an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the ground that Palworld infringes multiple patent rights. This means that some mechanism or feature within Palworld is the cause of the lawsuit, and Nintendo intends on seeking reparations for the damages. I can see why Nintendo would pursue this route over copyright, though. Some pals share some close similarities with Pokemon, but most are ultimately different and unique in their own ways. This shows that Nintendo was waiting for the right opportunity to launch a suit while investigating the game's main features, and who knows what they could have found in that investigation. Now, what this should really tell us is that Nintendo has more than one avenue to exploiting the law in their conquest to take down Palworld. Pocket Bear would eventually release a statement regarding the lawsuit, saying that they were not aware of what patents Nintendo claimed they infringed upon. So it seems like Nintendo is attempting to obfuscate the reasons behind the suit. Like they're basically saying, you infringed on us, but we're not going to say for what. Now, Palworld is very different from most Pokemon games, aiming to have a focus on survival and base building alongside your pals. But I can take a wild guess and say that Nintendo is more than likely going to attack the way that pals can be captured in the game. Using the pal sphere, you have a chance to catch a pal. You throw a spherical object at a cute creature and basically have some percent chance of catching said creature. It is almost exactly the same mechanic as what you would expect in a Pokemon game. It begins to muddy the line between inspiration and outright copying. So it's my belief that Nintendo will seek to make their case centered around the way that pals are depicted and how they are captured in the game. But honestly, this is just a terrible situation for the developers and fans of Palworld. Who knows how badly this lawsuit could set the game back? There's even rumors, though unconfirmed, that Palworld could be completely delisted from major platforms. I really hope that Pocket Pair can pull through and defeat this mountain troll that is Nintendo. For far too long, they've put out the same games and have proved they are willing to fight their competitors in order to control this genre. Well, that's it for today's video. If you guys have any opinions on the topics discussed, please leave them in the comments below. I appreciate you guys for making it to the end of the video, and as always, have a good one.